Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Welcome everybody to this new session of the European Alliance Against Coronavirus. Today we are going to speak about the Horizon Europe program, in concrete of the research and innovation in repurposing manufacturing. And in order to speak about that, we have the honor of having with us Peter Droll, Director in DG Research and Innovation Prosperity. Is that right, Peter?
That's right.
Thank you very much for joining us. And here you have with you the cluster community. Even in July, you see that we can have a strong interest in your messages, in your activities. So the floor is yours, Peter. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you so much, Antonio, and good morning to all of you. Ola told me about your network and your regular meetings, and that was very impressive. So it's a real pleasure to join you this morning. Maybe I need to explain what prosperity means. The EU's Research and Innovation Department has been entirely oriented towards sustainability. So we have directorates for prosperity, for people, and for the planet. And I'm in charge of investments in new technologies, which will strengthen our industrial basis, but also in cross-cutting issues such as investment agendas, business intelligence for private investments, and also knowledge valorization policies more general, because what we do see is that Europe is quite strong in research and innovation, but not so strong in scale-up and sharing the new knowledge. So that is the remit of my directorate. What I wanted to share with you briefly this morning is what could be relevant for you also in terms of Horizon Europe projects with regard to responding to the current crisis or future crises. And as the title says, research and innovation in repurposing manufacturing is one of the topics here.
Sorry, Peter, should I do the presentation right?
I do have a presentation, but I'm not sure how I could share it.
Yeah, you have. Do you see a message opening, giving you
yes.
the? Okay.
Okay, so I open the screen, share. And I go to this presentation. Can you see it?
Yes, not in full screen mode yet.
Okay, I'll put it in full screen. Can you see something now?
And we are seeing PowerPoint, but not in full screen mode yet.
I think it's loading.
Now, could you switch the screens, because we are seeing now the not the right visualization, but the one for the speaker.
How can I do that?
If you go to display settings, up in the top menu, display settings, in the menu of display settings, on the top of the screen.
Yes. Okay, yes, I found it, yes.
Yeah, the first one, please. Now it's perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Antonio, for your help. So this is a new element in our research and innovation program, which runs from this year to the year 27. We have agreed in a rather inclusive process the top priorities for the 4 first years. And you see them here on this slide, but you don't see them. Okay, you see the long words and the short words. So what you need to remember is that the 4 overall priorities for the next 4 years for our investments will be open strategic autonomy. That is all about the data economy and our key digital technologies. Restoring ecosystems, a very important element in when we look at the loss of biodiversity, for instance. Thirdly, and that's perhaps the most encompassing priority, it's about the Green Deal, so making Europe the first digitally enabled, circular, climate neutral, and sustainable economy. In short, sustainable economy. And fourthly, a more resilient, inclusive, and democratic European society. That at first sight might look a bit surprising as one of these four overarching priorities, but if you look back at the crisis of 2008, financial crisis, and what followed afterwards, I think that is quite clear. So these are the four overarching key strategic orientations for the next 4 years for our investments until 2024. And it's good to have these in mind when you consider participating in one of our projects. And I want to briefly share with you one project which comes up and is not yet open, but will open in October, and is really dedicated to repurposing manufacturing. And we see that as a more permanent trend, the need for flexibility in production and repurposing. Everything will have to be faster, and we need to see how we can deal with increasing changes and challenges. And data will play a very important role in this. Data about supply chains, about availability, and I think that's also very much in the heart of what you have been doing and sharing. So there are three key objectives for this research topic, which will be open as of October. Achieve a significant reduction in reconfiguration time. We talk about production lines. So, and that includes all steps between stopping a production, reconfiguration of the individual production steps, requalification, adjustment of intralogistic processes, and ramping up the full production. So that's the first objective here. Second, to develop standardized interfaces and protocols, really how to do it, like in airplanes. And third is to make it transferable. So develop protocols for best practices in rapid reconfiguration, which can be applicable to other products. And we look here at medium to high volume manufacturing rates. So and it should include and can range from anything, production steps, cleaning, forming, thermal treatments, cutting, joining, surface treatments, painting, printing, assembly, etc. And should also look at the customer base changes, which is again then linked to dealing with data. And for this project, we also look at international cooperation. We highlighted some countries here, Japan, South Korea, or Canada, who we think are particularly well advanced in this area. Budget you see here on the slide, I can say more perhaps when we discuss about how these projects work in general, how to apply. This is not the first, so this is quite generic about flexible manufacturing, repurposing existing production lines. This project builds on 4 projects we have launched during the COVID crisis. and which are running. And I will quickly go through them here in my last slide. That's actually already my last slide. And maybe some of you are involved in these projects. If I start with co-versatile, this co-versatile is about increasing the adaptation capacity, resilience, and flexibility in case of a sudden rise in demand for vital medical supplies and equipment. It's about concrete repurposing in medical supplies and developing methodologies with a quite wide range of partners there. Impure is, of course, dedicated to the same area, also medical supplies, and it's about repurposing existing pilot lines and covers also the testing but is specific to technology, and that's molding. So it's fast injection molding lines to be repurposed and develop a platform actually, which could be quite relevant for you also because it's a supply chain collaboration platform. The EAAC 3 project is called European Vital Medical Supplies and Equipment Resilient and Reliable Repurposing Manufacturing as a Service Network. That is quite similar, addressing the same needs for repurposing and being more flexible altogether. And the last one is called Reservist, as you see at the bottom of the slide. That is taken from an experience in humanitarian relief operations to have, or also military actually, to have teams in standby and be ready within 48 hours to call to action, depending on the challenge. The network which has the capacities to tap into the manufacturing capabilities of the participants and to coordinate and also digitally what is happening, and to have actually available a pool of experts to act and step in a case of crisis. And there will be some demonstration areas for surgical and respiratory face masks, for respiratory ventilators. So really, you see these 4 projects are dedicated to the crisis, the corona pandemic, and showcase in different aspects and dimensions what we can do, what needs to be done, what needs to be developed in order to be fast and flexible. So the project which is coming up, the first project I showed you, is certainly broader, but should also build on the results of these 4 projects. That's what I wanted to share with you as a kind of an introduction. And now I hope I can stop sharing. Yes, and be ready for the discussion.
Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, so sure that there are many questions for you between the attendants. I will open the floor now to questions and comments. Who is the first? Do we have some web page where we could look for those projects that you just shared, Peter?
Yes, it's the Horizon Participant Portal. a Horizon participant portal, and
We will look for them.
we think we are quite user friendly actually. But perhaps I can say a couple of words about that if you have not yet participated in a Horizon Europe project. These are usually quite long-term collaboration projects. So the average duration is 4 years, and the average volume is in the region of 10 million. You've seen that the project the topic I presented is also in that area. That's about our average. And you have anything between the average participant number is 15. So it's something medium term. Even if we deal here with short-term challenges. So if you haven't participated yet, the best is really to do the following. We are structuring our investment in so-called work programs. So you go to the participant portal, you put in a search function the keynotes, keywords where you think you have a unique selling point, and then you find the different investments, what we call research topics, with the dates I have indicated in one of the examples. And it's always that one project coordinator makes a proposal, which is then evaluated by peers in a rather sophisticated, very robust evaluation process. So this is what you could do if you want to participate, is to see which are the research topics where you think you have something to add, and then try to reach out to players, companies, research and technology organizations, universities, who you know are particularly strong in this field and who could be a coordinator, and then make a proposal that you could deal with one aspect of this topic, and so you can be part of the overall proposal. That's probably the best way to get into such a project proposal and then EU funding. We have other instruments available for small and medium-sized enterprises, and also single beneficiary funding under the European Innovation Council, which is a new instrument, which is quite similar to what you probably know in the field of blue sky research, the European Research Council. That's in very short our program.
Thank you very much. I think that most of us are quite used to the funding and tender opportunities portal. Yes, we need to look for those references. Do you mind if we share this? Sorry, because I forgot at the beginning of the recording to say that this session is recorded and we will share it in our channels. Is there any problem with that?
Not at all.
And it will be wonderful if you could share with us your presentation too, just to facilitate the links to our members. Ula, welcome. Thank you very much for facilitating this session, okay, to introducing us to Peter and also for your participation.
Oh, thanks a lot, Antonio. And I'm first of all, I'm really pleased that Peter is here, and I really would want to encourage the participants to ask questions. You cannot find somebody better placed for the Horizon Europe to get insights, to get also to know what to do. And I think what he proposed with the call, which will be launched, is highly relevant for all the discussions we had here in this forum. So I think that's really a good moment to engage, and also really strongly to encourage, because we have discussed in so many sessions the different funding opportunities. And we had in-depth looking at COSME, but COSME compared, and now the single market program, to Horizon Europe is so much smaller. And we have seen in Horizon 2020 with the InnoSubs where the cluster could come up with really good proposals. So I think use this moment, and I really want to encourage you because we are now at the beginning. We have now launched all these work programs, so I think it would be really important to look for the opportunities clusters can find in Horizon Europe. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Ula. You are totally right.
Antonio, can I make a question to Peter? Peter, one of the aspects that I think it's becoming now very important is the way that we are going to change Industry 4.0 to a new kind of Industry 5.0. Do you think that these opportunities with Horizon Europe will facilitate this upgrading in industry with new kinds of cooperation and opportunities? Thank you.
Thank you so much for this question. Industry 5.0 is a concept we developed over the last 2 years, and it basically says that industry should be in the lead, European industry, in the lead of the twin transition, not only the digital transition, which is Industry 4.0, but also the transition to circularity and climate neutrality. And this the ambition is quite high by trying not to repeat the mistakes of the previous industrial revolutions, which is that technological progress was made dramatically well, but the worker, the individual, was at the beginning not in the center and often suffering. If I take it from the first or second industrial revolution, child labor, we needed an education reform. So the idea behind Industry 5.0 is to see that in the current industrial revolution, we put the well-being, the skills, the privacy of the individual worker in the center, and industry is taking the lead in the transition to sustainability. And if you look at the overall investment of the Horizon Europe, what we call a cluster on digital industry and space, and Ulla is the co-chair together with 2 other colleagues who deal with digital and space and myself of this cluster. It is all about this transition, this double transition, which we try to accelerate and leverage private investments through research and innovation. So thanks a lot. That's indeed the intention behind whatever the label you give to it. So, but if you Google Industry 5.0, you'll find the report we published at the beginning of this year in January, under the responsibility of the Research and Innovation Commissioner, Maria Gabriel. I've seen a question on funding rates, Antonio. So the funding rate for the project I presented on flexible repurposing manufacturing is 60%. That's a bit lower. We can go up to 70% of the eligible costs for innovation actions, which are a bit closer to market. You have seen the technology readiness level here is starting at 5, so already quite developed, and ending at 7. So 60% is in this case the funding rate. For research actions, we can go up to 200%.
Thank you, Peter. I am sharing with the reference of one of the projects that you mentioned, the service, and we can see that between the partners, in fact, there is one pole de competitivité, one cluster, okay, EMC2, okay. So this is a good example of the kind of involvement that we as clusters could have in the future projects. Thank you. Lucia, would you like to comment on your questions? Welcome, Lucia. I think that Lucia had some problems with the sound. I see that your sound is activated, but it's not working, Lucia. Sorry. No, we cannot hear you. Okay. More questions, more comments? I am sure that there are many questions.
But look, for me, this was a wonderful occasion and is a wonderful occasion to make some connections, and they should not stop after this morning. So Antonio, it's great that you discovered already one of your members as part of this project. These projects are all quite easily reachable. And I would really encourage you to do that. Look at the website, also on a participant portal or on Codis. You'll find the coordinator and you can get in touch with these projects.
Peter, as you said, we are working a lot on those fields. In fact, we have been very active, you know, probably Ula has told you about it, no? We have been very active during the past year and a half on this field. So it totally makes sense for us to be participating in this kind of proposals. And it's wonderful to have you here also, because we need connection with your area, okay? Especially the from clusters, we could see that we are working on many of the fields that needs to be covered, both in logistics, the flexible logistics that needs to be implemented in order to really be quick on those adaptation, okay, but also in digital and data management, on digitalization of the processes, okay, where we have, for example, here Bianca Muntean from the Transylvanian IT cluster. She has, I think, a wonderful references. She's working, for example, with the digital innovation hubs in Romania, okay, and I think it makes sense also to link with that network, okay. So I'm totally sure that we could work on contributing to those proposals. So for us, I think it's perfect to have you to have the information that you are providing us and the opportunity to work. Could you share about other goals that you have? Athanasios, I can hear you.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
All
can
right.
see also.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for the opportunity to listen to the presentation. I have been, propagating this image of or this concept of a more holistic approach to the challenges that we are facing. And actually, when we start talking about 4.0, 5.0, I think we are adopting a kind of restrictive terminology that comes directly from the ICT sector, but it has its limitations. I think we have global challenges, and they require global measures. The sectoral policies are more or less, have reached their limit, and the key thing here is synergy. So in this repurposing of manufacturing that we are, this area that we are discussing, is a way to really rethink and rediscover latent potential. And this is sometimes a little bit contrary to standard economic thought that requires these cycles of bust and growth and making new investments. I think we have to valorize existing investments and find ways with projects through our members, through our all the small companies that participate in the clusters, to find new areas where we can use our existing production capabilities and existing production facilities. To do this, it will require a very direct involvement into how the call texts are being stated. And I would like to ask for a possibility for the European Cluster Alliance to be able to contribute into these texts in some formal way.
Antonio, may I?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So, no, very good. I agree. We need a holistic approach, and that is whether this is our intention and ambition for 5.0, certainly. We also have a strong partnership approach here. So the topic I proposed, I presented to you this morning, has been developed together with our partnership Made in Europe, which is a partnership we have from the EU side, and from the private side, it's represented by EFRA, the European Association for Manufacturing, and covering quite a wide range of players. And this is also a contact I could really recommend for you to engage with this partnership. At the same time, we have EIT, you know, the European Institute of Technology, has created a knowledge and innovation community for manufacturing. And I can, you're so fast. Antonio, I see you. I can also share the links after. Exactly, there you have it. Factories of the Future. So this is certainly a good channel to influence the program. But more, your last point, that would very welcome actually to have your contributions also to the future investment priorities. I can share with you quite soon a survey we will launch on the future of manufacturing, the medium to longer term perspectives of manufacturing, which can lead then into and should lead into research projects and innovation projects in the coming years. So that would be a first concrete possibility in opening for you to have your say and shape the future investment priorities. So, yes, and I see here on the screen the info days. I can share with you the slides we have used for the info days. There are recordings available where you can look and listen to our colleagues presenting the different topics in more detail. That is still available, and always a good source of information if you want to participate in some of the calls now. So Info Days, EFRA, which is the representative association for this Made in Europe partnership I mentioned, which for the partnership with which we have prepared the topic on repurposing manufacturing.
Wonderful, thank you. Patrick, would you contribute with your comments and questions?
Yes, good morning, Antonio. Sorry, I'm driving, sound is not good, but I had a question regarding the link with IIT manufacturing, but Peter answer, thank you. And as cluster, we are a material and manufacturing cluster. We are part of EFRA and connected to Made in Europe. So it's, as you said, it's a very good channel to work together. And my question was related to the tools in the program to make access to SMEs to such projects. Ula mentioned InnoSup in the former program as a good tool, and where a cluster can promote involvement of SMEs. I don't know if you have thought about specific good practices for SMEs. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Very important aspect. We see that the innovation capacity and the hunger of SMEs is particularly important to bring make our project successful. We have in my part of the investments, the industrial parts, quite a good participation above the overall average. So we are well above 20% SME participation. We don't have a specific instrument in this part of collaborative projects I mentioned. There is more specific under the European Innovation Council. If you want to go disruptive, this is a dedicated instrument for small and medium-sized enterprises. For what we do in our collaborative projects is that we encourage SME participation in the way we deal with work packages, projects, so. But it's to be realistic. If you want to participate in one of these collaborative projects as an SME, you need your own research capacity. If you don't have that, then this kind of project is not the best for you. Then we have other instruments, and perhaps you mentioned Ulla and InnoSub, which was quite successful. Perhaps Ulla can say a bit more about that. But for us, it's really about we have very good experience with participation, good participation rate if you have your own research capacity.
Yeah, it's a pity because InnoSub doesn't have a continuation as far as we know, and we think that it was an excellent action on the past program. I don't know if Ulla could comment on that or not. Anyway,
but it's already something to take home, Antonio. I noted that, and I spoke about it with Ulla. So well noted that you think InnoSub played a very important role.
Yeah, if I may quickly come in, I had a problem with my mic. I think what was particularly appreciated from what we saw from the InnoSub part is the reach out to the SMEs so that we could really make sure that the SMEs got involved. And I think the fact of the innovation vouchers which the SMEs got, this was something which was highly appreciated and used. And I think this was a good way to reach out to SMEs. So maybe we can see how we can build this dimension more in other projects.
Yeah, I think that the key in InnoSub, because we are, for example, participating in one of them, okay, is that we are going to those SMEs that are near ready to participate in the big projects, but not so there, okay? And so we are supporting them in that jump, okay, between the where they need the guidance, the mentoring of the expert group while they are developing their projects, okay? And that is, I think, a critical phase for them, okay? So with the expert support from the clusters, we are able to accompany them of the jumping, okay, on the technological jumping, I would say. And I think it's really, and as far as we know, the evaluation has been excellent, okay? So I think it makes sense to return to this kind of okay, Bianca, would you like to comment?
Hi,
Welcome,
good morning, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so it was indeed a very interesting presentation. There are a lot of things going on. Of course, like I always present it, we also have to treat the differences between different ecosystems and their level of development. We are taking care of the Eastern small and medium-sized enterprise present and active in our regions. So we encourage them to take advantage of all this opportunity. But of course, their level of understanding and awareness is still not as high as we would like it to be. So we really have to still focus on the basic stuff. And we were just kidding with our colleagues from the cluster of furniture here in Transylvania, where we discussed that we just managed to transmit what Industry 4.0 is for the manufacturing companies in the furniture field. And now we will have to pass, not to lose the train to explaining and also inducing the Industry 5.0. So we are really determined to make some leapfrogs and to contribute with our knowledge and connection with our teams with the linkages with the universities to onboard also Romanian SMEs to this type of opportunities. And I think that these information sessions are very good for us also. And I really appreciate taking your time, Peter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and it's so reassuring what you said, Bianca. So may I just comment from my side that whenever you think it would be useful for you to have contact with us and have one of my colleagues speak at an event, it will be a great pleasure. What I say that because the more, how should I put it, the bigger countries, the research intensive countries, they are quite well in taking advantage of all the information events and organize events. If we can be present in your events, that would be a priority for us and a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Okay, Peter, returning to the goal that you were presenting us, okay, and about repurposing manufacturing, are there any priorities in terms of industry focus? I mean, are we speaking out the medical devices? Are we speaking out, I don't know, automotive? Are there any kind of priorities on that field?
No, it's really left open, and this is why we want to have 3 to 4 projects which could cover a broad range of areas, but it's not specified. So we move from the 4 projects I presented, which are COVID related, to an application open core.
Okay, perfect. Because for example, I don't know if it is possible or not, but we know that we have a problem with the microchips, no? For example, and that could be an area to work with.
Absolutely. I mean, chips are very specific, and we have also specific because it's very capital intensive. But that could be certainly a possibility.
Can I ask something? Yes,
sure.
I think the question I have is it possible to really address more than one field? Because as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of manufacturing base that exists that if you go down to the, let's take, for example, the automotive industry. The automotive industry is structured around various tiers. So the further you move from the center, there is a lot of manufacturing flexibility for various components in different areas. And this could be serving not only automotive, but other areas that require advanced instrumentation that are typically today not produced in Europe. Is it possible to address in the proposals cross area topics, or it has to be repurposing for manufacturing for a specific let's say production line?
Yeah, it's not specified. So if I can read it out to you in the scope definition of the project, which you find also on our Horizon Europe participant portal. The project should address reconfiguration of production systems in which the lines are running at medium or high volume manufacturing rates and include a variety of production steps. We are not indicating in which areas this should be. So it's open. We have the aspect of qualification requirements in there. So, but that's also independent of the application area, such as so qualification requirements for clean room or certification for sectors such as medical or food. But that's just an example. And I think your point that it could be general purpose, if I understood you correctly, that's a very valid one, and it could be a plus in such a project proposal.
Yeah, I mean, the background of my comment is that, you know, in Europe we have been leaders in manufacturing in automotive, especially combustion engines. And with this recent, let's say, trend towards electrification, the shift is moving towards the east. There is, of course, commendable efforts to try to build an electrification manufacturing base in Europe, but this remains to be seen if it will be successful. But at the same time, there is already existing large infrastructures and investments in a very big, group that serves the automotive, sub-suppliers of the automotive industry that could be, that could find themselves out of business if they are not given an alternative or alternative markets where to use this kind of production facilities. One example that we have in mind, and I can mention, is there is a lot of casting, a lot of more basic work that happens for many engine components, and this could be repurposed, for example, for application in the chemical industry. So this is the background of my question. Sometimes we tend to think in very glorious applications, but the real economy sometimes requires very solid solutions for some of the SMEs and the many players that now are facing the risk of obsoleteness, so to speak.
I understand your point. Yeah, very well. I think the general repurposing of manufacturing of combustion engines, for instance, that is beyond the scope of project here, the project I mentioned, but it's a very, very relevant aspect you mentioned. And perhaps the projects coming out of this repurposing manufacturing call can contribute to this more general, more widespread repurposing. Because this is not just repurposing; it's fully replacement.
No, I mean repurposing. I mean repurposing. You imagine you have a production line that makes engine blocks, and then instead of making engine blocks, you use the same tools to make these kind of casts for some other application, which would be equally important in terms of monetary value, or it could recover a large part of the existing capacity of the factory, which otherwise would be stagnant. It wouldn't be operating. So it's not repurposing the combustion engine; it's repurposing some of the facilities that are part of this chain length. And I gave this as an example. There are several other examples of production lines that could be repurposed to produce different products that are now not produced in these lines.
I understand. Very good.
I see that Patrick is commenting in the chat. I suppose that he is not in the car right now. Hello, Patrick. Can you?
Yeah. Yes. Just as a compliment, yes, you mentioned
The quality of the sound is not good, Patrick. Sorry, Patrick.
Important to cover the value chain, and the point is we discussed it in the previous session to connect. Sorry.
The sound quality is not good, Patrick. I don't know if you could.
I don't know if it's better, but yes.
No, perhaps you could change your location and return to the discussion later. Ilaria, buongiorno. I see you have commented in the chat. Would you like to contribute? Ilaria just left. Sorry. Okay.
Antonio, I have a question. Elena.
Hello, Elena. Good morning.
Good morning to everyone. I have a question regarding the aspects posed by Industry 5.0. Actually, I see that it is about transitioning to a sustainable, human-centric and resilient industry. And I'm very interested to know about this human-centric aspect of the industry. and industrial policy strategy. What does it mean in practical terms, actually? Thank you.
That's a very wide question. Thank you for that question. And we are still at the beginning of what this could mean and what kind of action would follow. Of course, it has to do with skills development, and we have in Europe a very strong basis of companies, mostly also small and medium-sized companies with their own academy, bringing in kids from the region, but also lifelong learning for employees. So it's about skills, it's about privacy. It is about the right to disconnect. We have some research projects on manufacturing also in the previous program, which look into how machines can actually, because it's all about the human-machine interaction. So how machines can take into account the personal situation of the worker rather than being mathematical, completely neutral, day-by-day equal system with the same performance requirements. So this is an aspect of it. There is also a project we have which is called Beyond 4.0, which looks into also the organizational aspects of companies and the work of social partners, and found that this is a very important element in order to be successful. So these are just some dimensions of that human-centric aspect and resilience. Something we are at the beginning at. As is true for the entire concept.
Okay, so I see that we have with us one SME, Wilco Binstra, that has left a comment in the chat, but you can contribute directly, Wilco, if you want. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, first of all, I got into this networking event through another event that took place last week and also in March, which was a matchmaking event with a purpose to increase production capacity, upscaling, and also the production of COVID therapeutics. So it's not entirely true that I'm not aware of any EU network that's being organized. However, on the other hand, it's like this: we operate in a market with OEM companies, with final customers in the various industries that I mentioned in my message. But for us, the importance is that things can be practical, can be easy to discover, and it's easy to apply for any support. So in order to avoid searching through a jungle of websites, etc., my question was actually, how can we be more practical and say, okay, this would be the good network or support program for you, and what are the requirements also for the companies in order to get this funding and to justify, let's say, the funding, because I've had some experience in the past with governmental support, and there is a lot of administration involved in order to justify the fact that you get this support. How does that work in this way?
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's a very broad but very important question. Yeah. So my experience is that first thing is that you need to be clear about what you need. The clearer you are, the easier it is to find the right level of support also at European level. because we need to be clear, our funding is highly competitive. So for the funding I mentioned, research innovation, the average is that we fund 1 out of 10 projects. And if you see at the quality from the ranking and the evaluation, we could fund many more fantastic ideas and projects, but we don't have the budget for that. So you need to be clear about what you need. Is it a longer term investment to develop a new, completely new technology to open up new markets? Is it something where you think you are really at something very hot and you need scale-up funding? You need more. You need to bring venture capital in. So there are different instruments for that. So from what I see, what you described, your company is that perhaps you could have a contact with EFRA, with the association which is running the Made in Europe partnership. That could be of interest for you, or maybe low barrier, low threshold entry point is you contact your national contact point nearest to where you are located. So you just Google national contact point Horizon EU and make an appointment there. And because these contact points know all different EU instruments which are available for funding. But Antonio, I think you are also perfectly placed with your alliance to provide further links and perhaps the right network for this kind of company.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, we are the European Alliance of Clusters, industrial cluster, and probably you have around you some cluster that could help you also on that efforts. You know, it's our specialty to help our members to promote innovative projects, both individually, because we are supporting them on those projects, but also in a collaborative way. And you know, collaborating is usually easier and cheaper to afford some projects. Okay, but I need to say it's not the only way. Okay, you could do it both ways, just with your resources or in a collaborative approach. But yes, it's our specialty. So if you want, you can contact us, and we could help you in locating clusters around you that could help. At least we could propose you those references if you want. Okay, we will be very happy to do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
So,
good morning. Sorry, Antonio, I'm also in the last hour, always. Here, Aurora, Batista, I also represent an SME, and we have run for several Horizon projects with because we've been invited by other companies, and we run several projects on the country level of the European funds. And one of the problems we face is treasury, because we invest months, years, and the paybacks come really late. What is the action foreseen for those projects you mentioned?
This we cannot solve. The return on investment question and the time gap is not something we can solve. What we can do is the money you get from us is a full subvention. So it is your money.
That was not my question, Peter. Sorry, I was not clear. My point is only treasury on those funds that are coming for the project, not on the return. Sorry.
But then it's a question of pre-funding. So the moment we sign the contract with you, you get, I think it's now 40% of the, so it's a big chunk. The EU funding comes with a very big chunk of pre-funding, so that you can really go big. And then we have reporting periods where we look and then see what has been developed and whether we can free the further funding. So it's a very generous kickoff funding from for our projects.
Thank
I hope
you.
that answers your question.
I think it's clear. Thank you very much.
That was,
We
thank
need
you.
to close. Sorry. Thank you. We need to close because we have another meeting just at 9:30 with the EU Industrial Forum, and so we need to change the session. Thank you very much to you, Peter, to all the attendants, and we are looking forward to the opportunity to participate, to build proposals and participate in your calls. And for sure, we are totally available for strengthening the relationship between our side, the cluster community, and your activities. So please don't hesitate to invite us to your initiatives, okay? And we will try to keep the contact open, live, and strong. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you, Antonio. Let's do that.
Bye.